Okay, and welcome back to John Doc Teaches Poker. We're now going to move on to the third section, and I've called this Boring Math. And the reason for this is we're going to do a couple of videos on this topic, a couple of things you need to know when you're playing. I don't think they're super exciting, but they need to be covered. This video is mainly for beginners. If you already know the basics, feel free to skip it. I'm including it because it's where I started when teaching friends, and newer players simply can't afford to ignore it. Some quick equity spots. Here are some common pre-flop hands versus other hands and the equities, and I've rounded them for easy recall. The exact numbers matter, but this is just to show whether you're way ahead, flipping, or crushed. Ignore the suits and small details. This here is just for general insight. So again, these percentages are not exact, but they're just to give you a rough idea if you have no idea. So a pair versus two overs, the pair will win 55% of the time. A pair versus a lower pair will win 80% of the time, and a pair versus an overcard and an undercard is going to win about 70% of the time. Two overcards versus two undercards is 60% favoring the two overcards, and a dominated hand such as ace king versus ace queen is going to win about 75% of the time. And here are some post-flop hand versus hand equities, again rounded for easy recall. And again, to point out, just remember that the exact numbers do matter. They're not exact here, but it's just to give you a good idea if you're way ahead or way behind. So an overpair versus a flush draw with one overcard, the overpair is going to win 55% of the time. An overpair versus top pair, top kicker, the overpair is going to win about 80% of the time. A set versus a straight, the set will only win about 35% of the time. A set versus a flush draw, the set will win about 70% of the time. And a set versus top pair, top kicker, the set is going to win about 95% of the time. Okay, so let's talk about expected value. Ask yourself, would you roll a dice with someone for $10 if whoever rolls higher wins? It's a break-even situation, so really it just depends on if you feel like gambling. Now imagine a twist. You still play for $10, but now you can re-roll every time you roll a 1, but your opponent cannot roll again. This gives you an edge, so it's no longer a break-even situation. Over time, you'll win more and profit consistently in this game. This is a positive expected value situation, which we call a plus EV situation. In poker, the key is to find plus EV spots and to avoid minus EV ones. Keep making plus EV plays and you'll win in the long run. Now imagine one last roll is for $10,000, and you still get to re-roll if you roll a 1. Would you take it? If you just use the math to decide, you would say yes. But if you're here learning with me, then probably not, because even though you profit on average, $10,000 is likely more than you can afford to risk on a spot where you're not a huge favorite. Now imagine you're rolling for $10, but you'll play 1 million games, and you'll get to re-roll on a 1. Would you do it? Let's assume losing $10 a few times in a row isn't a big deal for you. If your answer is no, poker might not be for you. I always say that poker is like rolling dice, but the better player gets to re-roll on a 1. The weaker player can still win a few games. They might even start hot, rolling 6 after 6. For a while, they might even look like a better player, but eventually they'll start losing and keep losing over time. Over time, an edge shows. The good player averages a 4 when they roll, the weaker player averages a 3.5. In poker terms, as you improve, maybe you'll even get to re-roll on a 2 also. The best players in the world might even get to re-roll if they roll a 3 or a 4. Every time you play poker, it's like rolling mental dice, but instead of it being a game of chance, it's a decision-making game based on your knowledge of poker. The better player with the right mindset will consistently make better decisions, and over time, better decisions lead to winning. Poker is short-term luck, but long-term skill. Poker is a long-term game. Sometimes you'll spend hours losing to the same terrible player. Sometimes, playing and losing a hand the majority of the time is still the right decision. You might face a spot where calling means losing 80% of the time, but if it's still profitable in the long run, it's a call you should make every single time. And trust me, sometimes those 80% chances of losing will start to feel like 100%. That's one of the mentally hardest things in poker to deal with. Here's a game to show how EV works. EV equals the percentage of the time you win times the amount you win, plus the percentage of the time you lose minus the amount you lost. Example, flipping a coin with someone for $100. The EV is 50% of 100 plus 50% of minus 100, which equals 0. Someone will win the flip and someone will lose, but nobody is better or worse at flipping coins. Now let's give you an edge, like being the better player in poker. When you win, you'll get $200, but the other player still only gets $100. The EV is 50% times 200 plus 50% times minus 100 equals $50. That's an average of $50 profit every flip. You might be thinking, why would the losing player even agree to that game or keep playing? That's what makes poker great. The losing player might not care about the money, might not notice their disadvantage, or might just think they're unlucky as they slowly but consistently lose to the better player. Poker example. Your opponent goes all in on the flop for $100 into a pot that's already $300. You know you'll win 30% of the time if you call, as your opponent accidentally shows you their cards. If you lose $100. If you win $400. The $100 bet plus the $300 pot. So the EV is 30% times $400 plus 70% minus $100, which is $120 minus $70, which ends up being an EV of $50. This means the calling here has a positive expected value, even though you lose 70% of the time. Losing 70% of the time doesn't matter in poker if the 30% of the time you win is much bigger. Those rarer wins more than make up for the smaller, frequent losses. Losing at something 70% of the time in real life might feel terrible, but in poker, it might not matter if it's a profitable play long term. This can be one of the most difficult things for poker players to get used to, but if you can deal with the variance of this, then poker might be for you. If you made it here, thanks. I'm new to putting myself out there, so hopefully the quality and presentation of these videos improves over time. If you watched to the end or want to see where this goes, consider liking the video. It helps me see that people find it worthwhile. Maybe even subscribe and stick around for the next one. You can also follow me on Instagram at johndoc.poker. I'll be posting hand reviews, personal poker stories, and updates on my progress and what's coming next. Finally, if you like this video and would be interested in learning more directly with me, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at johndoc.poker. We can have a chat and see if we can work something out that we both benefit from. Thanks.